wanted. This is the object, the divine body temple, and it is a wonderful structure. It is not only substance, but life, intelligence, power. It is fitted to express the divine mind perfectly. All that preceded Jesus Christ was transitory. He came as an enduring man, and his body was a temple of the living God, because he made it alive. He said, "Follow me, ye who have followed me in the regeneration." In his courts, furnishings, and observances, the Temple of Solomon represents regeneration. It shows the various steps through which man passes in order to come to completeness and universal mind, where he is indeed a temple of the living God. In the temple there was first a court of the Gentiles, the outer court where all the people of every nation could gather and be in touch with spiritual life. But the Gentiles were not allowed to enter the inner court. Only those who were permitted there were who took religious vows. These two courts are representative of two states of mind. In the orderly process of man's development, there are certain conditions to be observed. The rabble from the outer court cannot enter the inner without purification. People who strive to enter without a mental cleansing, a change of mind, meet conditions worse than they had before. In the outer court was the altar for sacrificial offering. It was 30 feet square and 7.5 feet high. On this altar, burnt offerings of all kinds were made. Every person who came to worship was expected to bring an offering, a goat, a kid, a dove, or the like. Here is a representation of the giving up of all animal proclivities in the regeneration. In the religious life, those who seek God must live differently from those who are in the sense consciousness. There must be a change of mind and a relinquishment of all that pertains to sense ways. Still further in the second court was a brazen sea, held up by 12 brazen oxen. There were 10 lavers also. The brazen sea represents the soul. It is necessary to have a certain cleansing of the whole consciousness from the idea of sin. He who enters the temple must realize his innate purity, and if he observes the various steps in purification through denial, he will have this consciousness. The next step after sacrifice and cleansing is the entrance into the Holy of Holies. There were the 7 prolonged candlestick, and the shewbread and the incense. The candlestick represents the light of spirit, which light cannot be explained to outer consciousness. What was within the temple was invisible from without. The shewbread was a symbol of the invisible substance of consciousness, the manna of God. There is a spiritual substance in the body itself, but only those who can lay hold of it and make it theirs into the Holy of Holies. Incense is a symbol of prayer. There must be a constant going forth of the word of spirit, proclaiming truth. This spiritual essence should radiate from center to circumference and permeate the whole consciousness. After man has dwelt in the Holy of Holies, he can go still further into the holy place. Here the high priest entered once a year, and in it was the divine Shekinah, a pillar of light, symbol of the Holy One, formless, absolute, without limitation of any kind. In the play Ben-Hur, Christ is represented by a beam of light. He is never seen in the personal. His presence is merely suggested by the light. So is the ray of God, the divine man ego, in the holy place within every man. The high priest is I am. Every one of us is a high priest in his own temple. When we enter the absolute, we sacrifice the personal upon the altar, that we may realize the Christ way into the secret place of the Most High. By observation, we see that the man was, in his being, educated by symbols. Our temples become more magnificent as consciousness broadens and we go deeper into the mysteries of being. Spiritual thought and spiritual meditations are constantly carrying us to the place of ascension, where form is resolved into its divine idea. This was the supreme victory of Jesus Christ, when he came proclaiming that the Spirit of the Lord was upon him, anointing him to open the eyes of the blind. A new consciousness came to the race. He opened the eyes of men and showed them the way into their body temple. We must follow him in this eternal temple building. He is the only man that ever created a permanent body. If we make the proper sacrifice and enter in absolute purity, the way will be easy. But we must have courage and boldness to enter the absolute as Jesus did and proclaim with him, I and the Father are one. Jesus Christ taught the beauty and continuity of the body temple. This was one object of his ministry. He first proclaimed that his mission was to preach and to heal. And all his work was to demonstrate perfection of the temple, to establish a true worship of the living God throughout the body, which is God's temple. Every person is a high priest in his own consciousness. When you say Jehovah is in his holy temple, do you think of God as dwelling in externals? If you do, have the fearlessness to say to every tumultuous thought, be still and know that I am God. Jehovah is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him, and know that your own God-given ego is speaking. Well, it's about right on time. My tape is about to run out. So that's a reading for today. And like always, like I said, all I'm trying to offer you is truth and love. And I hope that somewhere along the line, I bring light to someone, I bring guidance to someone who is looking for me, who needs it, who wants it. I'm here and I'll hope to bring that to you. God bless. Peace and love.